What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today I'm here to bring all of you the weekly anime review of Dragon Ball Super. And so the battle between gods begin. Super Saiyan God Goku versus Lord Beerus, the god of destruction. And that's kind of the entirety of this episode, besides a few slow moments that really just felt like slice of life scenes and thrown in there to kind of make the episode last a little bit longer. But I will get into that in just a moment. The thing is, with this episode, we all get the fight we have been kind of waiting for since Dragon Ball Super began. Besides, content we haven't seen, this is some of the fights we actually do want to see. And so hopefully Toei Animation handles this fight scene a lot better than they did one of the most controversial fights earlier on in the series of Dragon Ball Super. Let's just, hope they do put a lot more production and effort into what is going to be probably happening next week, because there's probably going to be some really badass things going on. And speaking of production when it came to Dragon Ball Super, I want to get into this episode. So I haven't really talked about it much in the past couple episodes, but I kind of want to get back into saying something real quick about this. In the past couple episodes, I have noticed a little bit of derp, or not the best animation quality when it comes to Dragon Ball Super. I can't even deny that. And even with this episode, I did notice some of that as well. But when it came to how bad that one episode was, well, it's nowhere near that level. I'm just saying, it's nowhere near that level. And actually, this episode looked pretty damn good. Besides a few parts, it looked pretty damn good. I mean, Goku's face actually looked like it was drawn right. Lord Beerus didn't look like he was a stick figure. So I felt like overall when it came to the animation and all that in this episode, it was good, but not the best. But it was still good. A lot better than what we have seen. And so I do hope Toei Animation really pumps in the budget and production and the effort into next week's episode and the week after that, because we're probably going to have some really intense fight scenes going on. Now that I've got that out of the way, let's talk about some of the other things that happened in this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, besides the fighting, of course. So, Emperor Pilaf, we get to see him have once again a little bit of the focus in this episode, and I've noticed for the past couple episodes, since around episode 3 of Dragon Ball Super, I've noticed that Emperor Pilaf is being used as some way to kind of padding out the episode. Like, you all remember in the Cell games, back in the original Dragon Ball Z with the Cell games, I remember when I used to watch the, English dub when it was coming out, and I had to wait for the VHSs to come out. I remember at the Cell games to when Hercule and his boys were constantly talking all the time in the middle of the fights with Cell and Gohan. I remember that. I really remember that. And I feel like that's kind of what's going on right now with Emperor Pilaf, because I've noticed every time we're getting into some intense fighting and some badass shit's going down, all of a sudden we get thrown over to the perspective of Emperor Pilaf and what he's doing with his crew, and just that's kind of where it was doing majority of the episode. And so, am I the only one, getting those type of impressions from every time I see Pilaf? Because it reminds me of the scenes with Hercule and the news reporter, and, from the Cell games. It really does remind me of that. Hopefully I'm not the only one. But, getting back into the episode. The episode, though, it's okay. It's nothing spectacular besides the main points of the fighting. That looked really nice. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where Dragon Ball Super is going to go next week. If it will entirely focus on the fighting, will it extend the fights even more than it already has? Because with this episode, actually, they did extend the fighting quite a bit. And I am thankful for Toei Animation doing stuff like that, because I'm glad they actually focused and gave time for Goku to kind of learn his abilities, his power, before he just goes in and starts beating the shit out of Beerus, and Beerus starts beating the shit out of him. I'm glad it took some time for the warm-up, so to say. And these are the type of episodes I actually do like when it comes to Dragon Ball, or the original Dragon Ball Z. The warm-up episodes usually are badass. Just getting to see the two opponents going at each other, beating the fucking shit out of each other, and they're not really kind of determining who is strong at the moment, but they're really just testing their limits and seeing who is stronger than another. Kind of like a dick measuring contest. There you go. That's the best way to describe it. So, yeah, I mean, this episode, yeah, it was good. Nothing spectacular, but it was good. I'm really looking forward to next week's episode, though. I really cannot wait to see next week's episode. I want to see how they handle some of the action scenes, and I wonder if we're going to have, a really beautiful, well-executed episode, or are we going to have something that's kind of controversial as earlier on with the first fight of Dragon Ball Super. But we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.